Between the Lines, how it came to be, kind of the evolution of that project?
Between the Lines, I sort of feel like it was just sort of handed to me in this little bow package. The first time, we heard about it was at a general meeting. It got voted in, and it's a prison project where the concept was to go into prison and record mothers reading books to their children and then sending the children a brand new copy of the book and a copy of the CD. And that was sort of the concept that we had in place. But we had to figure out how to get into the prison. How do you know what inmates can participate? And project development actually had already sort of done a lot of that work. And they'd laid, we already had our prison contact. We already knew how to get us in there. We just didn't know how to evaluate.
Will you explain a little bit more about how, or do you know how project development worked with a community partner on that one? Do you know? Or was just basically?
The prison gave it to me, actually.
Oh, okay.
Well, I was going to say, Between the Lines is actually a project that we replicated from another league.
Oh.
So
sorry.
it was Portland,
Oregon.
Oregon did the project, and
Portland, Oregon did it. They've got about a prison on every street corner, it seems like. They've got probably 5 prisons within an hour of their league. So they can go into a lot of them. We don't have that luxury. I don't know what the right word is, but when the prison knew about the concept, when I was chair, I reached out and said, so how do we figure out what inmates? And she's like, look, we already have 1 million people coming in here with programs. Let me put you in touch with some of them. Gave me contact names. I reached out to Parenting with a Purpose, which is an organization that goes in and teaches parenting skills to these women. And it's a 3-month course. They have to participate, they have to pass, there's tests and steps and conversations that have to happen. And if they succeeded, they could participate then in our project. So I had the concept, we had the prison, I kind of found a partner, I sat all the committee down in my living room, and I'm like, now what do we do? And I was sort of the chair that said, literally, like, now what do you guys want to do? What do you see? What do you see? I mean, this is not my project, this is our project. And, within 20 minutes, we knew where we were getting books. We knew how we were getting stuff to the prison. We sort of had a slight concept of how we were going to record. But the committee got to do all of that sort of laborious work and put the ideas together. And pretty soon, I have 250 books sitting in my living room and a lot of other stuff sitting in my living room. And the committee just sort of built it, but everybody really got to have a say in it. And it's the one committee that the league doesn't get to touch, so to speak, because it's a committee only, because background checks in prison. It's actually really hard to get into prison. So it doesn't reach out to the whole league, but every committee member who's been on it has just really been touched by it. It was all of the women typically join this project because they feel bad for the children, they're separated from their mothers, and they all walk out of the prison going, I just had no idea. There's some pretty powerful stories. There's a mom that couldn't read. She had a 13-year-old. I'm crying every time I tell the story. I cry. She had a 13-year-old son, and she came up to our little table, and we're trying to help him find books because they also don't get to make decisions in prison, which we didn't. It didn't occur to us. We thought they'd go up to the books, they'd grab one and leave, and they can't decipher 250 books to what they need. So we had to kind of do that. So she's like, oh, I have a 13-year-old boy, so we take her to the boys section, and she's like, I can't read. He said, oh, come and see it, I'll listen to whatever book you read to me, just try. So she went down to the early learners and tried reading a book, and obviously it touched a few of us. But that was one of the benefits that you just really didn't even expect. And the inmates liked it. It got around prison that this was a really good program, that we were really nice people. The prison's key for the junior league coming in, being an outside vendor, being a state vendor, was we really needed to be efficient, we needed to follow their rules, and we needed to do exactly what we said we were going to do. That was the key with them. There's no messing around in prison. Walking the straight line, all that. So the committee just really kind of got that in. We got our standards, we got it worked out. And we had 3 events the first year, 4 events the second year, and then the state shut down. That was inconvenience. And then last year, we've been working for a couple years to try and get like the National Guard or any of the military units involved, because it's the same, the actual concept is the separation of the child from the parent. It doesn't really matter why. I mean, it really doesn't matter why. When you're separated from your parent for a year, it leaves a mark. So we've been working really hard with the military. I sat in a room in a meeting with like 12 military people and 3 junior leaders. And every one of them, seriously, every one of them kind of said the same thing the prison did. But you say you're going to do this, but what are you really doing? And we were like, well, we'll bring the books, we'll do this, we won't be in your way, we've got this down to an art, we meet one-on-one, it's not intimidating, we're just here to make it easy. Yeah, but when it comes to mailing, so when are you gonna drop those off? We're not gonna drop off. Well, who's gonna pay for that? And so with both vendors, it really was, what do you say you're gonna do, and what are you really going to do, and then really doing it. And the military did a test run with us, and they flat out said, we're just gonna try you out. And if anything doesn't work, we're not passing it on. And there weren't a lot of parents with children there, unfortunately. But I think there were 5 parents that had children, little children, and all of them participated. And it was obviously very well received. It was on the news over the weekend. But Junior League has a reputation in the community and within every community of doing what they say they're gonna do, which is huge. Because promising is so easy, and being hopeful that all these women are going to follow through, it feels good, but it's not really what matters. It's the actual following through, and it's the getting up at 6 in the morning to go to prison, and not wear your makeup, take off your wedding ring, and you don't want to intimidate anyone. So it's about changing you, but being committed to fit your environment. And the league just absolutely stepped up. It's a fabulous project, obviously.
And it's still one of our current projects.
And it's a current project, and the military is the one that we're really trying to keep, because the prison there's kind of a steady flow of inmates there, so we're pretty good there.
So Becca has a host of questions here, but I want to open it up and see if there's any questions that anybody has, as you've heard the ladies answer several thus far.
Oh, come on.
I have lots of them, but
We saw her list, you should ask.
Okay, 7-second rule.
maybe you guys can touch on like how we can help, because how our committee is divided, and Heather, you know this, but maybe you two don't, is the 2 new projects, which we've kind of touched on, the evolution projects, but then also current projects, how we can help the development of current projects. So maybe you guys can touch on, maybe with your experience, how can us, great group of women here, help the evolution or the next phase, like Kids in the Kitchen, and near and dear to my heart, but or even with Between the Lines, or just certain projects, how can we help them get to the next level or transition out, like Backpack Buddies? Is it going to be something we hand off? I mean, what advice would you give, or what do you guys think about that?
Well, a couple of things. So, you could jump in. So in terms of, just as you mentioned,